Okay, hi everybody. My name is Richard Lesperance. I go by the name of my man Richard. Welcome to A Better Lifestyle. Today I have the pleasure to have once again on my podcast Kim Butler. Welcome, Kim, to the podcast once again.
Thank you. Always good to talk with you. Such a joy to share what you and I are working on.
Great. Kim has a book that's coming out soon, so we'll be talking about the book. Just before I start, I just want to say a disclaimer. This is not financial advice. It's only for education purpose only. So please do your own research before you make any decisions. So Kim, talk to us about the book. I believe the book is called Busting the Scarcity Mindset. Why the book?
Well, it is a joy to write books. This will be my 11th book on Amazon. All of the others are around personal finance for Americans. And the reason I'm excited about Busting the Scarcity Mindset book is though I do address some financial things, and as you wisely said at the beginning of the show, it's never financial advice when you're in the public sphere, right? It is about our thinking. And so this is the first book that's truly available for anybody worldwide to benefit from. And our thinking and our finances are so closely aligned. But even if we just set aside the money for a little bit, if we look at our lives and we think about how we can have even better lives, it all starts right here in busting those scarcity thoughts, those fear oriented or anxiety oriented or whatever word you want to use thoughts and replacing them with good ones. So that's what the book's about.
Why do you think people have those thoughts?
That's a great question. I believe it's just part of humanity. Yet at this time in our lives, it seems to be a very prevalent thought. And so it's kind of feeding on itself. We all have scarcity thoughts that come into our heads. It's not that we're trying to not have that happen because it's going to happen. What the book is about is helping people know what to do when that happens. And so I believe, in answer to your question, that we have the thoughts because we're human beings, we're living lives, and the good ones are pushing the envelope a little bit, right? We're trying to improve things. We're trying to make things better, not only our own lives, but those around us that we serve in the businesses that we operate in or the professional spheres that we live in. And so it's natural and normal to have those thoughts. That's not the issue. The issue is what we do about it.
You talk about in your book, invest in your growth. Talk to us about that.
Yes, I just saw something recently where a person that's of professional status, but maybe at the early levels of their career can actually earn 10 to 25% on money that they invest in making themselves better at their career. And you and I both have been in the investment space, at least on the fringes. 10 to 25% per year is an amazing return. And so I'm encouraging people to invest in themselves as human beings. That might be money, it might be time, it might be relationships and connections. But if we work on ourselves as human beings, it's truly the best investment that we make. Not only might it be in literal form, like let's say I'm earning $30 an hour or I have a $100,000 salary. Well, if I can get that 100K to 110 and I can earn that every year, that's a 10% return. Or if I can get my hourly up 10 or 20 or 30 or 40%, that's something that I earn every single year. And because I do a lot of work in the financial space, I'm very, very clear that us human beings that are living and working today, meaning anybody from 30 to age 70, we're going to live until we're well past 100, probably past 110, possibly 120 is going to become totally normal in our lifetimes. And so it's so important that we invest in ourselves so that we love what we do. And usually, because human beings are really wired for growth, that means that we get better and better and better at what we do. And if we can invest in ourselves and tweak and improve, and it's an ongoing process really that should be happening your entire life, the work that we do, then we'll get paid a little bit more. Then we'll love what we do a little bit more because we're even better at it. So we'll get paid some more. And it's just this awesome, ever growing and expanding space. Well, who wouldn't want to invest in that?
I had someone before, he was talking about the journey of, in regards to financial literacy. And he was saying it was something that really touched my spirit. He was talking like in different seasons, you need financial literacy. If you're starting out, like in regards to money, you need financial literacy. If you're at a certain level, you need financial literacy. Like the more you have, you need more financial literacy as you grow up, like, whether it's in your income or in your investments. What are your thoughts on that?
I love that. So when you're 20 and 30 and you're just starting out, your financial competency, so let's learn, but let's also implement, right? Is all around the habit of saving. And, unless you're from an uber wealthy family, it's the habit of saving. It's the habit of earning income and putting some money away. And you've got to get really good at the habit of saving, like a verb, and then the storage of savings, like a noun. But then when you get into your 30s and 40s, at least ideally, you're going to have already built your emergency fund, check. You're already building and will continue to work on your opportunity fund, check. Now it's time to get in investments. So like he was saying, that's a whole different level of learning. You've got to learn around the investment space, all the various options that are out there, and then decide what works for you. And again, one of those investments should be investing in your own self, in your career, in your capability, in growing as a human, as well as growing as a professional out there in the marketplace. Well, then typically, and it's not necessarily age related, the next phase, if you will, typically in your maybe late 50s, 60s, 70s, et cetera, you should still be working. And you need to start to look at how to create cash flow from assets. So investing is one thing. Divesting, right? Creating cash flow from assets is a whole nother ballgame, a whole nother layer of financial literacy and competency. And then in your 70s and 80s and 90s, you may have desires for helping the next generation. You may have cash flow all straightened out. You may not, in which case you still got to work on that. So yeah, that's really well said. There's layers there, there's seasons, whatever works for you in terms of the different things that you need to work with as you're making progress.
There's, you were mentioning cash flow. Nowadays, there's, especially with the internet, there's different opportunities for people like to tap into. Like it doesn't take a lot. Like certain opportunities obviously cost, like you need investors and stuff like that. But there's other opportunities, like especially if you're trying to build an online business, whether it's content creation or what it is, like building a personal brand. So there's different side hustles like people could start with. Talk to us about that, and what's your thought on that?
Well, I love the side hustle space or the gig space, whatever word you want to use there, because it enables us to feel some creativity and potentially build something that is truly our own. And so, a lot of professionals, they have their day job. That's awesome. But when you think about it, if you take 24 hours a day, there are 8 hours at work, there are 8 hours sleeping, ideally, right? Let's try to get that done. And that leaves 8 hours. And so you take away 4 for eating and a little bit of social and, getting here and there and everywhere, working out. And then that leaves 4. Well, let's just even take half of that. So that's 2 hours a day. What are you doing with those 2 hours a day? Well, if you are, and fine, watch a little TV or whatever is your thing, but please look very carefully at how you're spending that extra time, because that is a space where you could create something that is truly your own, where you get paid for the God-given talent that you have been given, that was installed the day that you were born and will be there the day you die. If you can create a gig or a side hustle around that God-given talent, then you truly will never work a day in your life, because you'll just keep doing what you're good at. You're going to love what you're doing, and it will get better and better. Where I think the problem lies is when, first of all, people quit their day jobs too soon, trusting or hoping that this gig is going to work out. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And furthermore, where people continue to invest in themselves, but they never really implement. And so I think it's very important that we get self knowledge so that we know, for example, a very common invest in myself space is the network marketing arena. That's awesome. If you are a super energetic person, you like being out there socially, engaging people, etc. It's not for everybody. And I see a lot of people, they try this network marketing program and they try that, and they're investing in themselves, but they never implement. And so that's not good. It's not healthy. It's depressing and it wastes money. And so it's very, very important that people get the self-knowledge to know what would a appropriate gig be for me that I know that I could invest in, and that I could, it's not 100% guaranteed it's going to do well, but you got to like narrow the lanes a little bit. And my favorite self-knowledge tool, and there are many out there, is Kolbe, Kolbe. It's $55. It is an identifier of your God-given talent. It puts words on the talent that you have. And it's so important that we have it. Frankly, it's used worldwide. It's not known very well. It's been around about 60, 70 years. I actually know Kathy Kolbe. She's in her 80s now. And I know her adult children that are running the company. So kolbe.com, super helpful. It's designed to be a business tool, but I actually think it's the best marriage tool out there.
You have sometimes, well, not sometimes, a lot of times on the internet, you have these people who make entrepreneurship easy. Sometimes, people don't know like the price that they have to pay in order to make something successful, especially on the side hustle aspect. Talk to us about that.
Well, the internet, I think, is such a blessing, and it comes with its challenges. And so I really encourage people to figure out how they learn best, right? Do you like to read? Do you like to watch? Do you like to listen? And then make sure that you are taking that medium, or do you like to get your hands on things? That's definitely a fourth way to learn. Take that medium and go to a variety of sources for your research, so that you're not just taking one person's opinion. Now, you don't want to carry that too far, right? You can't get stuck in analysis paralysis where all you're doing is trying to research and research and research and never taking action. Nevertheless, if you know your Kolbe profile, you'll know if you have a tendency to do that. And so you can say, okay, I'm going to interview 3 people and that's it. But then with the internet, we can learn so much, and we must be very, very careful about who we are paying attention to in whatever manner it is, and make sure that the inputs that we're getting into our brains or our minds are positive, purposefully oriented, where we can get the results. I remember early on in my career, actually right about the time the internet was coming out, so like mid 90s, I really narrowed down my inputs, and I said, okay, for personal growth, I'm going to have one source, and it happened to be Dan Sullivan, a strategic coach. For business growth, I'm going to have one source, and it's Todd Langford of Truth Concepts. Now, that happens to be my husband now, but it wasn't then. And I just wanted to narrow down my source of inputs so that after I'd done my research, I could really dial in and go deep and learn what it is that I needed to learn, and not have all these, again, after the research, all these competing ideas out that made me constantly go, well, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? And then I also feel like it's very, very important that we have one either spiritual or inspirational message that's coming into our minds on a daily basis. Again, look at your time. How do you spend your time? Well, if it's important to you to connect with your maker, I call it Father, Mother, God, then it's important that every day I spend time with that message. So like for me, when I first get up in the morning, this phone has an awful lot of capability on it. In fact, let me just for fun show the camera our Busting Scarcity Mindset books cover that I'm so excited about, coming out on March 25th, Kindle version first, and then Audibles and soft copy to cover it after we progress. Nevertheless, I've got to be super careful. What is the first thing that I go to in that phone in the morning? And so I've just set a limit for myself. I go to my Bible lesson. Like, you choose whatever it is for you, but I will not let myself look at anything else on that phone until I have had time in that Bible lesson, because that food, that inspirational food or spiritual food, if you will, is uber important. And I talk about that in Busting the Scarcity Mindset book, because I need food in order to bust the scarcity mindset when it comes. So when the little voice on my shoulder says, you're afraid, you can't do this, oh my gosh, what are you going to do? All the things that it says, that scarcity mindset has to get pushed out. Well, what am I filling it with? Well, I want to fill it with my Bible lessons messaging. So I've got to have that right at hand so that I can replace those scarcity thoughts with the prosperity oriented, positive, can do thoughts that come to me from a variety of sources, but in particular, wanting to make sure that I've got that spiritual or inspirational input.
What about the bouncing back from failure? Because it's not necessarily the first thing that you're going to start that is going to work. It might take like maybe 3 or 4, 5 things that you touch in business, and maybe it's the 6th thing or the 7th thing that works. So talk to us about that, because people, like, maybe in their first time, if they fall, they might have a different perspective, and perspective really affects, like, it can make you or break you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, at 57 years old, however old I am, I've had lots of failures in my life, personal, professional, monetary, you name it. And it is all about the learnings, right? Learnings, plural, it's a word. And learnings are what we want from those failures, because if we have the same failure over and over, we're not learning from it. And so sometimes in the middle of failure, you can start to already seek the learnings and then do whatever you need to do. Jot them down, journal them, install them in your brain so that you can remember that, hey, this was an issue. I don't want to repeat that. And we must understand, as human beings going through life, that we're going to have those failures, and we can turn them into learnings and enable those failures to really cause us to rise up and be even better. I'll just give a quick story. I have helped people in the personal financial space literally for 35 years. And one of the things that I have learned is how unbelievably easy it is to lose money. And so it doesn't matter what the investment is that you're talking about. I mean, I've been involved in so many different investments. I've had every license known to man in that space. And I have just seen so much money lost, either sometimes because of fraud, sometimes because of mistakes, sometimes because the thing, whatever it was, just flat out didn't work. And so one of the things that I have learned from that, and typical financial people do not like to focus on that, is the utter importance of savings and liquidity and cash, which is the boring stuff, right? Like, nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody wants to talk about their investments. Well, guess what? Nobody's talking about investments that lose money. And so that's a learning that I can bring to people. And I trust that maybe I can help somebody not lose some very hard-earned dollars and be okay with it sitting in a savings account or a credit union or a money market or cash value of whole life insurance or something uber boring but certain, so that it sits there and not get all attracted by the investment and the potential for that whatever rate of return, because it might not happen.
You talk about in your book collaboration for exponential growth. So talk to us about that.
Absolutely. Well, in America in particular, although I really think this is true worldwide, competition is typically what we see as human beings. And so I want to introduce the idea for people to think about collaborating potentially with their competition. Because when collaboration occurs, you get 1 + 1 = 11. And so what I mean by that is, there's a common saying. I mean, we all know that 1 + 1 is 2, but there's a common saying that 1 + 1 is 3, right? Kind of indicating an improvement. Well, by 1 + 1 = 11, what I mean is the exponential impact that collaboration instead of competition can create. Now, maybe you're collaborating and it's somebody that's not in competition with you. That's fine. Doesn't matter. The fact is, you're bringing two human beings together in a space where there's open-minded positivity, appreciation, expectations are set aside, and opportunities are looked at. Well, when you put two human beings together that are willing to collaborate and willing to give first, you get an environment where that exponential impact can happen, because you truly get the impact of that 11 necessary growth that occurs when you put two things together that can just literally explode. And that exponential impact can have such a wide range of capability. Now, in the business world, we all know that partnerships are the most problematic spaces ever. Nevertheless, if you can really get some clear ideas going, that 1 + 1 = 11 space. Now, maybe it's me and a team member, right? It doesn't have to be my competition, but if I can come to anything with the idea of collaboration, I will get an exponential impact. And it comes by starting with a give first mentality.
What's your favorite chapter in the book?
Number 9, which is actually the bonus chapter that we added kind of as an afterthought, but had been in my head all along. So my co-author, Kristen Hugins of Joyful Communications, has a chapter on the metaphysical economy. So metaphysics, obviously designed to get our thought even higher than just mental. So we're busting the scarcity mindset, but now we're adding in the metaphysical element of that, which is really our own minds combined with our higher power, that Father, Mother, God, your inspiration, your maker, whatever other word you want to use. You want to talk about collaboration with a 1 + 1 = 11 impact. Bring in that metaphysical economy space. And it's a really short chapter, but it's got some unusual ideas in it.
Who is the book for?
Oh, great question. This book is for any person worldwide that understands that fear and anxiety are a part of their mental process every day, and they want to have a way to transcend that fear, to overcome that fear. They know they're not going to get rid of it, but they want to have some very concrete, specific ways. And each chapter has some very short, here's what you can do bullet items to enable themselves to bust the scarcity mindset, right? We understand it's coming in. That's not the problem. It's how quickly we can get it out and how quickly we can fill it with something else, a prosperous mindset. That is who this book is for. And truly, you could be 10 to 12 years old. I mean, it's not a kid's book by any stretch of the imagination, but it's clean and green, right? So you could be 10 to 12 years old and get something out of it. But I think it's really dedicated to the professional service person. And by service, I don't mean like a particular type of job, but the person that says, I am put on earth to serve. And I'm working to do that the best way that I can with the skills and the talents and the licensing and the professionalism and the designations and the particular job, plus my spare time, volunteer time, whatever you want to call it. And I want to do that in the best way possible.
So when is the book coming out and where it's going to be available?
Yes. So the first version is on March 25th of 2025. So 3/25/25 in Kindle's space. So on your Kindle, on your phone, on whatever app you're using for Kindle books. And then we just got approved yesterday to be in Amazon's beta for an AI Audibles books. So, as I mentioned earlier, I've got 10 other books on Amazon. And with one exception, I have personally read the Audibles version of each one. And I was happy to do that. But as you can imagine, our Busting Scarcity Mindset book is not a short book. So it's probably a, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 hour job, right? It wouldn't take you that long to listen to it or read it, but it would take me that long to get it right. So here we have Amazon's AI. We'll see how it goes, but I'm sure the AI version will be available about a week later on Audibles. And then about a month later, so late April, early May, we'll have the soft copy available. We're taking a little bit more time with that because there are some numerical examples, some pictures, some calculators in the book. Even though the bulk of the book is all about mindset, we do cover a couple specific things that are very specific to the financial space. So I've got some calculator pictures, and we're taking a little bit more time to make those look a little bit better for the soft copy version.
Do you want to add anything else to everything that we talked about?
Oh, you're so kind to ask that. Yes, I do. I really want to just highlight the bonuses that are available for pre-order. There are some extra things that didn't quite make the cut for the actual book. And there's a couple PDFs that are in the book, but you can actually, with pre-order, and of course, we'll keep the bonuses live for a little bit longer, get some extra goodies. So one of them is the 7 phases of perpetual wealth. So I come from the life insurance space. A lot of people that know me love my book called Perpetual Wealth. And people have sometimes a hard time thinking and seeing their financial lives long term. I mean, human beings have a difficult time with this anyway. In the 7 phases of perpetual wealth, I literally go over each of the phases. Doesn't matter how old you are, you're still probably going to go through all 7 of them. Might be a shorter period of time, might be your whole life. It's one of my most favorite messages, and I would really love for people to have it. So if they go to bustingscarcitymindset.com, they can sign up for those bonuses, and that's one of them.
Where can people learn more about you and follow you?
Well, you're sweet to ask. ProsperityThinkers.com is my main website. There's lots of goodies there. I'm on pretty much all of the major social media channels, including YouTube. So if your way of learning is to watch videos, help yourself there. And then, of course, on Amazon.